Andrew Schultz is a comedian. I find him to be a pretty funny and smart guy. As far as I knew, he was not a Trump supporter, but interviewed Trump, and it's genuinely hilarious in spite of Trump.
Remember when weather was just weather? Now it's apparently a government conspiracy, at least according to MTG. If you're scratching your head wondering how we got here, you're not alone. Let's unpack this cloudy situation together with a helping of Jimmy Kimmel's signature snark. Remember how the most unusual meteorological event was your uncle's conviction that he could smell rain approaching? Oh, how simpler life was then. Things are getting worse, and they're far from done because to MTG and Trump's bullshit about government-controlled disasters.
Despite Trump. Trump was asked the question, what happened to Mike Pence? What happened to Mike Pence? And here is how Trump reacted.
What about Mike Pence? You got anything for Mike Pence?
Well, it's a shame because he and I had a very good relationship.
Hanging out somewhere.
He couldn't cross the line of doing what was right, in my opinion.
After we stated it might rain, someone said, the feds are weaponizing the weather. It seems like you're watching a ludicrous snowball get bigger and faster until it erupts into an absurd avalanche. By the way, who has been supporting it? That's right, our friends in the conservative media. These people have been distributing Green's charges like wildfire around a mobile home community. They seem to have a special link to Conspiracy Central via which they may send any crazy idea that occurs to MTG. The only thing their audience has any control over is common sense.
Even though Trump claims to support and defend the Constitution, even though Trump claims to be a supporter of law and order and blah, 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 Trump sees everything transactionally through the prism of what's good for him and our people just doing what he says.
And believe me when I say the switch is firmly turned off. But this is where the scary part is. These cannot be written off as simple children's tales. They're driving some pretty twisted circles. Weather nerds who study the weather, meteorologists, are receiving threats of physical assault. It seems that some individuals think the weatherman is capable of more than just controlling the green screen. It's like you're attempting to blame the dentist for your sweet tooth. And it's not just the meteorologists that find themselves in a difficult situation. These conspiracy theories undercut attempts to save lives after natural disasters. When people start to trust politicians more than scientists during a disaster, we know something is seriously wrong. It would be similar to seeking advice on heart surgery from a hairstylist. While they might be skilled with scissors, they might not be the best person to call in an emergency.
The only thing that matters is he wanted Mike Pence to do a thing, and Mike Pence didn't do it.
The most detrimental aspect? Experts refer to the current state of affairs as a storm of disinformation brought on by all of this ridiculousness. That is, I promise you, a far worse menace than any hurricane. It's like trying to escape a cyclone by paying more attention to your neighbor who thinks he can mentally control the weather than to the emergency alert. As if things couldn't get much crazier than the weather. Some Republicans are correcting the record. Members of the GOP are currently combating conspiracy theories for unknown reasons. Why does it feel like it's viewing a unicorn in the capital of the country? Apparently, a small percentage of Republicans have decided to abandon their dogmatic dogmas and begin to think critically. Congressman Carlos Jimenez of Florida is leading this push, saying that anyone who thinks they can control the weather needs to have their head examined. A Republican who genuinely likes science. Whoa, it can be both exciting and unsettling to see a dog move on its hind legs. But wait just a moment. North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis has also joined the sanity movement. The last thing the victims of Hurricane Helen need right now is political posturing, finger pointing, or conspiracy theories. He shows his empathy for Hurricane Helen's actual victims. Here's a politician who puts the needs of real citizens ahead of those of their followers on Twitter. What happens next when pigs fly? Joe Biden, the vice president, is also participating. There's just no place for them. Not now, not ever. He continues, calling the whole storm conspiracy thing un-American. You could argue that he's conversing in a completely new language, one that is known as common sense. Things are starting to get crazy now. Actually, the absurdity of these claims regarding climate control irritates Biden. Are you joking with me? A politician who is as confused by jargon as the rest of us? He gives off the impression of being a really real, breathing human being. At this moment, I can sense what's on your mind. I hope all is well with you, Jimmy. You're complimenting Biden and Republicans at the same time. I have not been abducted by extraterrestrials, so don't worry. If everyone agrees that the sky isn't falling, then perhaps we can prepare for the real storm. You guys, that is the really shocking part. It's great when both Democrats and Republicans condemn crazy speech in the dull realm of politics. As a result, some people might even start to believe in the government once more. Consider this, putting your trust in the state. Let's unwind at the DMV after this, shall we? But we can't make too many assumptions just yet. It's not always the case that politicians make sense. The world isn't flawless. It appears that we have unintentionally ventured into another reality where a portion of them have recovered their capacity for critical thought. Still, isn't that progress? The next time you hear the accusation that the government is controlling the weather, just remember that even some Republicans think it's utterly ridiculous. Furthermore, in the turbulent political environment we currently find ourselves in, bipartisan consensus can be seen as either a sign of impending disaster or conversely as a guiding light. You would think we'd be safe with all this agreement about the weather, but you can imagine how surprised I was. Some of our favorite political farces are still disseminating conspiracy ideas in a hilarious way. What's the most startling, do you want to know? It's not just their hair that's attractive. Let's examine real storm planning, shall we? No, it isn't related to gathering a hat collection of foils. President Biden's administration is really focused on a groundbreaking issue, disseminating trustworthy information about storm safety. Truly astounding, isn't that right? FEMA has a difficult task these days. They are now managing disaster relief in addition to playing whack-a-mole with conspiracy theories. Multitasking at its best when you're trying to ward off a kraken and save a ship that's in danger. Meanwhile, our old friend Trump is still trapped in his own dramatic time warp. Remember his earlier complaint on the hairspray ban? It seems that Trump values his hairdo more than the ozone layer. It would be like worrying about your cleavage while the Titanic sinks. But now, let me tell you the truth, when a hurricane is predicted, the weatherman is on your side, even though he once wrecked your beach day. Biden's staff is making a lot of effort to persuade the public to believe scientists and meteorologists during natural disasters. They seem to think that exact statistics can save lives in some way. It is absurd, is it not? Let's speak about education and how it may literally save lives during a tragedy. It turns out that the best protection against a storm of lies is a good dose of the facts. Who would have guessed? This may sound like a ridiculous idea, but perhaps we should trust actual meteorologists rather than politicians who claim to be more adept at forecasting the weather. Yes, I understand that's a drastic suggestion. Soon, people will be advised to heed the counsel of doctors rather than Instagram celebrities when it comes to their health. Trust me when I say that this goes beyond just staying out of the water. All that matters is survival. For information on hurricane updates, when whatever its name is makes landfall, you should be depending on NOAA rather than OAN. That is, unless you think there's more to using your TV remote to control your Netflix queue. And the next time you hear this claim, keep in mind that even some Republicans think it's totally ridiculous that the government is controlling the weather.